Hello everyone, hope you're doing great. So, in this article, first of all, what this article is about windfall tax. This tax is a very new tax, and there's a probability that this question can be asked because this is a very important for economy, taxation, and could be a potential question in both prelims and mains. Let us understand what this is. To first understand windfall tax, you have to first understand what does this word windfall means, right? Now, windfall means to get some sum of money unexpectedly, or to get some money, without expecting it. So this is what windfall means. And tax is because this tax is something that is unprecedented, or this is imposed because on companies that have got profits in unprecedented manner. Let's understand what this means, and let us understand what it is essentially. Our finance minister on September 2 defended the windfall tax imposed by the center on domestic crude oil producers, saying that this was not an ad hoc move but a well planned one, right? Now, let us understand what windfall tax is. It is designed to tax the profits. The profits of a company derives from an external and unprecedented event. Like, for example, the prices of crude oil rise rose so much because of, first of all, the Russia Ukraine conflict, and first because of COVID. It is attributed to something that the firm actively did, right? It cannot be attributed to something that the firm actively did. Any company who recently, due to increased prices, had a huge amount of profit did not predict the Russia Ukraine war, right? It was because of this war that the prices of fuel rose and their profits increased, you know 2 to 3 or 10 folds. And the government wants to tax these profits because, why they want to do it is because a very simple reason, that these companies chose to sell these products at a higher price or at a higher rate in those areas, rather than using this crude oil for domestic use, right, where they knew that the prices were low. They were not selling to those domestic markets. Hence, it is a way of government to, balance the bar of nature, in sense, so that company does not become the sole, the tax, the sole, profiteering machine, just by because of this unprecedented event, which was so harsh on so many people that are living under poverty or in rural areas. Let us understand in the article as well. Unearned. So basically, windfall means unearned, unanticipated gain in income through no additional effort or expense. There was no additional expense that was made. No additional expense that was made. Yes. There was no additional expense that was made by any company that was supplying crude oil. So the government typically levy this tax. This is a one-off tax retrospectively. Piche. Retrospectively means in previous dates, over and above the normal rate of tax. So this is the problematic area, and we will read further in this article. Routinely been discussed in oil markets, where price fluctuation leads to volatile or erratic profits for the industry. As you all know, that oil industries and is a market in which there's a huge fluctuation of prices going on, and it is very much dependent on the external factors, right? To funding social welfare schemes, so government will use this tax to fund social welfare schemes and as a supplementary revenue stream for the government. Of course, we know the tax is utilized for the windfall profit tax of rupees 23,250 rupees per ton on domestic crude oil production, which was subsequently revised fortnightly 4 times. This was 4 times revised, right? and was hiked to 13,300 rupees per ton from 13,000 rupees. And explained, our finance minister explained that windfall tax is a way to tax the phenomenal, this is phenomenal profits. So this is something that you can write down in your answers. This is a very interesting word, phenomenal profits made by oil refiners who chose to export fuel to reap the benefits of skyrocketing global prices, which affected domestic supplies. So they chose to send their oil and crude oil to countries where the prices were skyrocketing instead of fulfilling the domestic need. The pandemic recovery and supply issues resulting from Russia-Ukraine conflict shored up on energy demands, which in turn have driven up the global prices of oil. The profits of energy companies, while resulting in hefty gas and electricity bills for households in major and smaller economies, partly from external change. These gains are from partly from external change, and multiple analysts call them windfall profits. This is because of this, right? And we have United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also saying that this is a grotesque greed, grotesque greed, right? Phenomenal profits, grotesque greeds, these are the words that fetch you most marks in mains while you are writing an answer. Big oil and gas companies for making record profits from global energy crisis on the back of world's poorest people, on the back of world's poorest people. He said it is immoral for the largest energy companies in the first quarter combined $100 million in profits, right? That is why they are saying, reaping the benefits of high oil prices, the Indian government specifically imposed an additional excise levy on diesel, petrol, and air turbine fuel. Diesel, petrol, and air turbine fuel (ATF), right? From other countries, India case was different from other countries as we were still importing the oil, discounted Russian oil in rubles, as you can imagine, when this was happening between the Russia Ukraine war. Targeted mainly at, so this windfall tax was targeted mainly at Reliance and a Russian oil major, Rosneft backed Nayara Energy. These two companies, the name of companies is not required to remember, but remember that these companies made huge profits during this time, right? Countries widened trade deficit, this tax would be utilized in this. So what are the problems associated? The problem is very simple. First is there should be a stability in the tax regime for investors to invest in certain sectors, because then they would be able to probably forecast their investments, right? There's a return on investment. If the tax regime is stable, they can predict it, if their investment would be returned or not. But if the tax regime is unprecedented, it's unstable, retrospective taxes such as windfall tax is put on these companies, then it becomes a problem, because then investors are skeptical, they would like to back out of these things. Windfall tax are imposed retrospectively, they are often influenced by unexpected events. So the companies never knew that Russia Ukraine war would be happening. The prices of oil would be raised so much that they will have to turn to other markets to gain more profits, right? They can brew uncertainty in the market about future taxes. Uncertainty in the market about future taxes. Investors run away from uncertainty, right? Moving ahead, the prices surges may suffer from design problems given their expedient and political nature. So this is given by International Monetary Fund, IMF, quotes and says this price surges may suffer from design problems, because you never know how to design this tax regime. Introducing a temporary windfall profit tax reduces future investment, because prospective investors will internalize the likelihood of potential taxes when making investment decisions. Consider yourself as an investor. If you believe that the government will introduce a retrospective tax or the government tax regime would be unstable for the industry that you want to invest in, you will think about it, you will internalize about this decision, and there's a very less likelihood that you will potentially invest in that industry which is so unstable, and so the tax regime of the government is also not very uniform in nature, right? Increase in oil prices led to high profits. In one sense, it can be called true windfalls as they are unforeseeable. But on the other hand, see what the companies are saying. Companies may argue that the profit they earned as a reward for industry's risk taking to provide the end user with the petroleum product, right? And this is what the companies are saying. Another issue is as to who should be taxed. Is it only the bigger companies that should be taxed, or the smaller ones also that should be taxed? The bulk of high prices of sales for smaller companies, as well as raising the question of whether producers with revenues or profits below a certain threshold should be exempt. So again, this is a policy, and you can write this as a solution as to the government cannot figure out a tax regime or a policy in which these windfall tax should fall. Hence, the government also has this question in mind as to who should be exempted and who should be taxed, and what threshold should be made for companies like this who fall into this zone of windfall tax. Again, this was a very interesting article to read, and hope you liked it. If you liked it, do subscribe and share the channel, and thank you everyone for watching. Keep subscribing. All the best for exams, and do share and subscribe. Thank you everyone.